This is a little run through, talk through of the Bloch Concerto Grosso. There's some reasons for the fingerings that I've given you, and I just wanted to go through this and explain some of those. The first thing that needs to be addressed, however, is all of the double stops in the very beginning whenever you have all of this. So all of these spots where you play two Ds at once, it's really hard to get those in tune. I don't think it's honestly necessary that everybody play both Ds anyway, because you're just kind of inviting trouble by doing that. So I would actually just play it as a normal D. It's not really going to change in a noticeable way. And then especially like in measure 3, when you have the, that's really honestly the only truly comfortable way to do that, meaning have your thumb on the low D. So, but I personally would suggest just foregoing any, playing the low octave and the fifth above that. And instead would just simply maybe have some people play something like, or even, even that much, but not going the whole octave, or, as it's written. I just wouldn't mess with that, honestly. On the second line, in the fingerings that you see I've added where we go in a tenor clef on the eighth notes, on the... you might wonder, first of all, why not just go 3, 2, 1 coming back? That's perfectly logical. The reason why I give you the option to come back early, because now your first finger is free to make that jump down to the low D. So that's the reasoning behind that. Also, make sure when you play that G with second finger that you're keeping your second finger a little bit more curved in this way, kind of half curved, but also more vertical than, say, if you're playing with a flat finger or if your arm happens to be low. So then to get from there, second finger on G, to A, third finger, you're putting a little unnecessary strain on yourself now just to get there. So instead, if you're just kind of curved and more on top of the string and on top of the fingerboard, then just comes a lot more naturally and more easily. Rehearsal 1, coming down from the eighth notes. So the reason why that fingering is such that it is, again, so that you can just get there to second finger on the low A as quickly and as easily as possible without having to go first finger and then pick it up and release it and then place first finger again. Okay, so you're on, so. And this is one thing I didn't mark because there's options here where you could either play back to first finger in first position. You could also just as well go to third finger in fourth position on the C string to play that A there, and then you don't have to go back and forth with the position changes. So you just catch it there and then... So now you're wondering possibly why are we doing A on first finger on the D string and then going to open A? Well, that's so that we don't have to play 2 open A's in a row, where we would, has the potential to get a little overly harsh, especially with an entire cello section. So that's why you have this fingering instead. So you only have 1 open A, and that's where the actual marcato also begins. Potentially confusing looking fingering for this next part. And it needs to be explained, first of all, that most people are going, especially less experienced cellists or younger cellists, are going to be inclined to try to play all of this on the A string. So you'll try from the F at the end of the 4th line in the last measure to go, and then make another jump, right? So it's not impossible, but it's extremely risky. Okay, so I would say to take all of the risk out of it, where the bar before that now we deliberately play open A, because it's only one, and because it's at the end of the phrase, so you'll probably likely taper away anyway, right? Instead of, obviously we're not going to play the end of a phrase like that. So the fingerings below suggest that you start on the D string from the beginning of this bar, and you just jump. After playing open A, you play, and now you've got the A string, eighth note, and another eighth rest to set yourself in position so that then you can play. So that's one way of accomplishing that. The other way is the fingering on the top, where you just play the F and the E on the A string first, and then you switch to thumb on the on the D harmonic. So after 2, 1, 2, 3, the fourth bar, when you go up to that high B flat, make sure that you're thinking in terms of position. So first finger is going to be on the G there. So if you want to make that shift feel a little bit less intimidating, then you can actually just as well shift first finger to G, and then you're set for third finger on B flat. If you try to feel like you're reaching up to the B flat, it sometimes feels a little bit more daunting to get up there. One fingering that I accidentally left out, and it's not a huge deal, and it might be already logical to most of you, but before rehearsal 9, 1, 2, 3 bars, I would just continue to go up the G string there, so that you're playing that D with first finger, and all of the subsequent chromatic rising notes just right there in position with 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you go to the D string for the F sharp. And then, some of you might have opted to going up the D string there, which is certainly doable, but the reason why I had you go up the A string instead is since you're getting to the peak of the crescendo before 9, and 9, the arrival there needs to be, double forte, then I thought it made more sense to switch to the A string 2 notes before the fortissimo rather than just 1.